Ladies and gentlemen, it is your man in Japan, Jay Contra. And over the holidays, I went to a used sort of like media shop. I guess you could say it's got old video games, used books, used comic books, used music, CDs, albums, that kind of stuff. And something I've never done on this channel before is a direct comparison between Japanese game shops and American retro game shops. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're just going to run through the footage that I took. We're going to do some price comparisons that I'll just do off the top of my head. So I apologize if my information isn't completely accurate, but I'm just bringing my knowledge of collecting to the table. We'll talk about availability, the different consoles you'll find, especially compared between America and Japan. And before I start saying nonsense, let's just get this show on the road. So here we start off. We've got a bunch of Genesis games. And oh yeah, a Dreamcast controller that's going for $10. Is that second party? Yeah, okay. I want to say that second party. Neo Geo controller. Just pausing here for a moment. $40 for, man, look at that. I mean, the Neo Geo CD came to America, right? And I wonder if the box actually did have the katakana on it. $40 for that Neo Geo CD controller, which I believe is also, you can use it with the original AES system. Correct me if I'm wrong. But $40 is actually not terrible, considering that I want to say it's about 3,500 yen now. It's about $35 here in Japan. So, I mean, with tax, yeah, okay, it's like a $45 controller. The box, not in great condition, but and it looks like they have two of them. No, because I don't think that's a mirror. And you can tell that, so up front, it has a very nice green to it. And then the one in the back has been bleached by the UV lights or whatever. Yeah, hold on, let's see. Let's look at that. Oh no, it is. Oh no, it's not a mirror. Okay, that's weird. So looking then at the Sega Dreamcast, that is, hold on, I want to see. That is $90 for what's in the box. Man, that's a really rough box. That's a regular, that would be an American NTSC. I think the U, that's a United States, right? That doesn't mean universal, I think. So in Japan, the Dreamcast has gone up a little bit in value, especially since we hit the 20th anniversary a couple years ago. $90 seems a bit steep to me. Okay, I don't know what American prices are like, I'm just comparing these the price that I see here versus what I usually see in Japan. Dreamcast, if you're out in the countryside, can be about $45 complete in-box. On the Tokyo end, yeah, maybe $80 tops. So $90 isn't terrible if you're buying a Japanese version. But of course, this is an American version. I don't know what that's going to actually cost. Here, what do we move to next? Yeah, so looking at the game Genie for like $25, what's really interesting is here in Japan, I don't know if we had sort of like game Genies for the Mega Drive, Saturn, those early cartridge systems. I know later on there would be the action replays, especially for like the DS. I can't remember if they came out for earlier systems. Those could be very expensive, going from like $40, $50 plus for used game Genies or whatever. But these, I mean, $20 seems pretty good. Looking at the other games, let me move on and see if we can see any other prices. It's strange to me that there's some... So this is a really weird showcase to me, where we've got the Genesis, the Sports Talk Football. Is that a rare game? There's the Lawnmower Man... Jurassic Park, or The Lost World Jurassic Park, not Jurassic Park, The Lost World. Don't be confused. Crash Dummies for $10. So all very American games that you wouldn't normally see in Japan. Moving on, what else are we going to see? It's going to be, I haven't watched this video. I took it and then it sort of jumped out of my head. And so this is the first time essentially for me seeing this too. Looking there, we've got, is that like a flashback console? I think, because it's got the AV cables. It's certainly not an original one, right? It's going to be one of those ROM machines. Looking at, we've got the IntelliVoice voice synthesizer module. That's going for $40. Pitfall for a mysterious price. Oh, and then I guess I dropped my phone a little bit. Hold on, let's skip that. Yeah, so let's go back. Let's move ahead a bit. Then we're going back to the showcase. So let's see. Shenmue. How much is Shenmue? I can't. Shenmue, $35. That's really expensive. There was a hot moment when Shenmue 3 was first announced, where Shenmue 1 and 2 really jumped up in price here in Japan. Now it's gone back down. Shenmue 1. So there's actually something I should bring up. There's the original Shenmue 1 for the Dreamcast. That's maybe a $10 game complete at most, I think. There's also Shenmue US, which was this later release of Shenmue here in Japan, where they released it with, I think it's all, the text is all in Japanese, but all of the voice acting is done in English. And that is one of the very few games that I bought cheap, like 5-6 years ago. I bought it and it was around like $20. Now it's like an $80 plus game if you can find it in good condition. I'll just take a slight break and play. So moving on, Resident Evil for the Saturn. Whoa, that's, what is that, $101 for Resident Evil for the Saturn? Although I don't know actually what its price. I didn't even know Resident Evil came out for the Saturn, to be honest. So I can't give you a price for that. Looking at some of the other things. Oh, interesting. There's a Japanese game. So this is the place near where my parents live. You can actually find Japanese games there every once in a while. And actually another nearby place, I don't want to necessarily give out the name because I don't want to reveal my home base. But it's one of the bigger distributors in the sort of the center eastern seaboard. And it has a big show floor and it has a lot of American games, but a surprising amount of Japanese games that you'll find there. This is, I think, Tomb Raiders for $18. I can't imagine in Japan that's going to be a very expensive game. That's probably going to be like a $5 game at most. But that's just my guess. I haven't price checked Tomb Raiders in a while. Well, let's move on. Well, we got Tomb Raider Chronicles for the Dreamcast, Resident Evil Code Veronica, which is another like $10, $20 game. Oh, and I keep moving on. So where are we going? Here we go. We're now at the Super Nintendo games. What have we got? We've got Wizardry 5. Can't tell from the glare on one of those. Jurassic Park, but this is all like, man, and especially look at the condition on some of these games. Look at that X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. You wouldn't see a game like that in Japan. That'd be in the junk. Even if it was a rare-ish game, that'd probably be put in the junk and it'd be like $10. Disney's Aladdin. Let's see, Mystic Quest for $25. You could probably buy that complete in box for $10 here in Japan. Oh, they got Raiden Triad for $22. That's not a bad price. That'd be, I think, complete it'd be like a $40 game. Even loose, it would be anywhere from $15 to $25 here in Japan. Looking, what else have we got? Shanghai 2, Jurassic Park. I want to say, I think one of the games I remember seeing here was Zelda, Link to the Past. But I can't remember if that's what I saw or not. What have we got? We've got Disney's Goof Troop for $20. Weapon Lord for $30. I couldn't tell you what that would be. Super Ghouls and Ghosts for $35. Let's see, what is it? Like Cho Makaimura. That's like that's not even going to be a $20 game. Maybe $10 at most. Even with as high as the prices have gotten in here in Japan, it wouldn't be anywhere close to that. We've got Yoshi's Island for $30. You could probably find it for $20 complete in box here in Japan. Mario's Time Machine. I don't even think that came out in Japan. Let's keep moving on. We got Super Bowling for $15. Anything else? Super Empire Strikes Back. That is actually, the Star Wars games here in Japan got really expensive to the point where I would say even Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Return of the Jedi, complete in box, those could be $100 plus. Loose, yeah, maybe $20, $30. Those are one of the few games that are really expensive here in Japan. And then like that Super Punch-Out, like, oh my God, $30 for that? You know, I actually don't think I've seen Super Punch-Out in Japan. Did that even get released here? I hope so, because I'd love to play it. But $30, even if it was released here, for one, that's something that belongs in the junk. You wouldn't see something like that with that weird sticker peel off. And even if I could find, $10, maybe, if I had to guess. Bubsy 2. I don't know if I've seen Bubsy 2 here in Japan. Moving on, let's look at these complete boxes. Man, look at this. This is wild. So you know, what I've shown from the hard offs here in Japan, even if you go to a hard off that doesn't have a lot, you'll at least get a lot of the staples. You'll find your Marios, you'll find your Donkey Kongs, and I'm interested to see how much these Donkey Kongs cost, because there's some games that I've been looking for in Japanese, complete in box, so I do know the prices on those. We've got Troddlers, Metal Combat, Falcon's Revenge, Rampart, The Jungle Book. I don't know if those got released in Japan, so I can't tell you. And these, ooh, man. So another thing is that these don't have the prices listed on them. So I'm going to say they're probably pretty expensive. I know in Japan, Super Donkey Kong goes for, you find it cheap for $10. At most, it's a $20 game. Donkey Kong Country 3, same thing. $10 on the low end, $20 on the high end. We've got, is that a sealed copy of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine? Yeah, because it doesn't look like they're resealing the game. So that is a new copy of Indiana Jones for the N64, and that's $60. But that's, I don't think, was released in Japan, so I couldn't tell you what its other price is. And that's, wow, okay, Legend of the Mystical Ninja. So that is, I'm going to do some weird pausing here. That would be, God, that awful artwork. Man, that's the other thing about collecting Japanese games and why it's so good, is that the box art for Japanese games is just so much better than their American versions. Like here, this is god awful, and that's, I can't even see a price on it. That's actually one of the more expensive-ish games for the Super Famicom. That's going to be like a $30 game here in Japan, and probably on the higher end. Looking at the NES games, The Adventure of Link for $50. That's Zelda 2, right? So in Japan, we didn't get a cartridge release of Zelda 2. We only had it on the disc system, and that's maybe a $20 game at most. Disc system games are really hard to play because you've got to always fix the belt drive within the Famicom disc system. And so I can't give a direct price comparison on that. We've got Donkey Kong Classics, if that includes Donkey Kong 1 and 3. Those are $10 games at most, so that'd be $20 total. We've got Ninja Gaiden 2 for $21. That's, yeah, I mean, Ninja Gaiden 2 would be about $10 here. Kirby's Adventure, that actually can get a bit pricey at like $15, maybe even $20 if you're finding it complete in box. Metroid's another one where it was only released on the disc system, so that would be, I actually don't know if I have Metroid. I want to say it's like $20, $30 on the disc system. Now, Castlevania is one of those really weird examples. It's one of those rare examples of, it came out in Japan first as a disc for the Famicom, and then it got released as a cartridge very late. I want to say like 91, 92. So in Japan, the original Castlevania, all of the Castlevania games have gotten really expensive. But the original Castlevania can easily go, I remember buying it a couple years ago for like $95, and that was actually really cheap at the time, as compared to the $35 here. We've also got DuckTales for $20. That's actually about what I'd pay for it here in Japan. We've got Mega Man with that awful, awful front design. Let's see how much it costs. So a Dragon Warrior 3, $50. No way in Japan. Dragon Warrior 3 complete in box is like a $10 game. Bomberman also relatively cheap here in Japan. And then Mega Man, is it like, I think it's $55. I got to kind of squint. I didn't zoom in close enough to see what the real price is. That's actually one of the few games for the Famicom that is still pricey. It's like a $55 game for the Japanese version. We've also got more Famicom games down here. Metroid for $32. Yeah, there. Mega Man, whoa, that copy is $85. Wow. I thought the Japanese version was even more expensive because you figure people just come over here and they buy it. But man, no way, not $85 for Mega Man. Donkey Kong Jr. with a ripped label. Look at all these ripped labels. Oh my God. So $25 for Donkey Kong Jr. No, it'd be $10 here. Did we get RoboCop? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Famicom got RoboCop. Looking at their other games, interestingly enough, can't see a price on Super Mario 3, but look at that really warped label at the very top. Wow. And then I think they've got the Super Mario Brothers cassette. Oh, I can't see the price on that. Let's see, Baseball Stars for 15. Let's see, Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt for 15. Yeah, I think regular Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers, the first one for the Famicom, is like a $10 game. What else have we got? Super Game Boy, $20. Actually, there are so many Super Game Boys here in Japan that you can find that in the junk bin for like like $1, like $5 at most for a loose one. Oh, excuse me. What else have we got here? Nope. So, yep, we're moving on. Where are we going? Okay, here we go to the portables. Now, this is Japanese portables are absolutely out of control. The Game Boy in particular. So, looking at these two examples here, if you go into Akihabara, you're going to find a lot of sort of the mintier consoles. You'll find loose Game Boys at Super Potato for like $80. If you go to Trader, you'll find them for like 30 or 40. And if you find them decently at a book off for like, yeah, again, $30, $40. These would not be junk Game Boys. These would probably be your sort of average priced Game Boys. Yeah, the screen's really messed up. This is probably what you'd find in Japan just because it's really hard to find good condition portables these days. Let's see, am I going to move over to the right? So we'll talk about Pokemon in a moment. Pokemon Silver for $45. First of all, look at the condition of these games. Wow, look at that Mario. $15? No way. So the thing about the Game Boy here in Japan is that the games are relatively cheap. It's just the consoles themselves that are really expensive. Pokemon Silver complete in box is going to max cost you $30. Loose, you can buy a loose Pokemon Silver for $10 with the battery replaced, even from Retro Game Camp, which has very high prices. Pokemon Red for $35. Again, you can buy it complete in box for $35 here in Japan. Wow, look at that Link's Awakening. Oh my god. Gunstar Heroes. Okay, this is a good example of just how some of the weird variable pricing. So Gunstar Heroes complete in box, I just saw it for $55 at Trader in Tokyo. Loose, I don't know what it's going to cost you. I try not to buy loose Game Boy games because I'm a fancy boy. Moving on, and then whoa, oh my god, I can't remember what that. Look at the bottom right, Fire Emblem. This was I can't remember. It was like the first Fire Emblem released for the Game Boy Advance. The first Fire Emblem to release in America. $120, my dude, man. I'm so glad I'm collecting Japanese games because you can find the original Fire Emblem or whatever they called it for the Japanese Game Boy Advance. That's like a $30 game maximum, complete in box. I don't even want to know how much it goes for a loose. Like what, $10 maybe? Metroid, what was that? Metroid Fusion. That's gonna be that's a $50 game if you find it in the box. I was lucky to find it for $20 out in the sticks. Loose, yeah, probably way less than 30 if I had to guess. What else have we got? Metabots, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I can't tell you the price on that. Whoa, and look at that over to the right. What is that? SWAT Cats? Oh man, how much is that? $75 for SWAT Cats? I'm going to look up if they release that in Japan because, oh my god, look at that condition. Oh, there we go. Here are the big games. We got Link to the Past for $70 loose. First of all, there's not a lot of text. Just buy the Japanese version. Man, even hit me up and I'll see if I can find one for you because $70. That's a $30 game complete in box here in Japan. Maybe $10 loose if you're at a hard off. Then they've got a PAL Bart's Nightmare. That's crazy. Yeah, a lot of games there. I don't see any Super Famicom games though. Although Super Famicom and PAL games share the same label. Oh, and then there it is. There's your Japanese games. There's Super Mario 64. I don't see a price for it, but that's one of the more common games. That's one of your $8 to $10 maximum. The N64 games haven't really gone up in price except for a select few. Pokemon Stadium, you'll find it in the junk for like $1. Iggy's Wrecking Balls, Hey You Pikachu, those are some cheap games too. Wouldn't pay more than $10, especially for Hey You Pikachu. I want to say that was $38 for that copy of Paper Mario. Find it complete in box for $20. Chameleon Twist, that's pretty cheap even here in Japan. Another less than $10 game for the N64. Just looking at a lot of those. So, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it on this frame of the GameCube. And just kind of looking back on that selection, that's the kind of selection I would expect if I went to a big city, like book off. Like that's a place that doesn't really specialize in retro games. I mean, hard offs like out in the sticks would have better selection than that. Even the book offs here, you would find more of your sort of staples, like your Zeldas, your Marios. You would find more of those, more of them like Mario 2, Mario 1. you'd find a much bigger range of Zelda games. You'd find a lot more interesting N64 games. You'd find your Mario parties would be super cheap. Your Smash Brothers would be super cheap. So it's just very interesting to me to see that comparison where you just, I don't, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because people are just buying them all the time, whereas in Japan, maybe they're just not the interest. But you just find a better selection out here in Japan. Looking at that GameCube, it is $75. The GameCube has not yet taken off in price. And I can't tell you why. Maybe it's because the PlayStation 2 is so much more popular. That was true in America too, but in Japan, I think it was a lot more stark. A loose GameCube, maybe in Tokyo, you'd be paying $50 for it. Out in the Sticks, $30 for, controller, console, AV cables. Look at that, man! I keep dropping my phone. Look at that, a Wii for $75? No way. The Wii has absolutely collapsed in price. I wouldn't buy a Wii for more than $20. I've seen them kind of get expensive at the retro shops in Akihabara, but take 10 minutes, take a train, and go to a book off. That's like a $20 console at most. Let's see. We go across there, and then I guess I'm standing up. Oh, there's the Wii U. Let's see how much a Wii U is. Oh, why do I keep... So looking at that, oh, I can't tell the price of the Wii U. I hope I look at the other one. So the Wii U, the thing about the Wii U, I'm just going to pause on the Nintendo Labo box. The Wii U, you can actually go to the I want to say GameStop, not GameStop, the book off. That's in Akihabara. They're selling Wii U's. I want to say they're complete at the very least for the console and for the tablet. They're going for $60. And I think they'll still have the cables with them, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me. I'm going to buy one from there, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Pausing here on the GameCube games, it's very interesting to me that their showcase is only 2 GameCube games, and it's the $40 for the Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. That's a $20 game in Japan, and $35 for Wind Waker. That's like $8 and $10. And it's, I mean, I know there are expensive GameCube games, but I guess this is all they had. Is the GameCube, is that finally picked up in popularity? Looking at that Castlevania Dawn of Sorrows, that's $35. That's the only one that's not super expensive in Japan. Dawn of Sorrows is, I think it's even like a $40, $50 game in Japan. And then Portrait of Ruin is like $100, and Order of Ecclesia is like getting like $120 for those games. We've got Spirit Tracks, but the price label's bent, so I can't see it. I want to say it's like $30. That's like a $10. That's like a less than $10 game here. Nintendo DS games, except for the Castlevania games and some of like the Otome, very hard to find games. DS games are super cheap here. Very lucky to have that. Just go to Gayo or Book Off. You'll find so many of them super cheap. That PS2, is that PS2 really like $300? Really? I can't, okay. But then again, I couldn't tell you how much those are. Oh, and that's the end of it. So I think, okay. So that was the Retro Showcase. So that particular location, it didn't just have games in the showcase. It also had racks of a bunch of more modern games, as well as some of the more retro consoles, like, GameCube, PS1, even going back to like the regular Nintendo. But it wasn't really worth going through those because there wasn't really any rarity there. It was just all your sports games and your more common games. Again, in Japan, those would be your junk games. But I guess at this place, I don't want to talk down this particular store. To me, the prices were a little high simply because I'm used to buying games in Japan. Let me know if this is what your average selection is. This wasn't a retro specialty shop. It's just a sort of used media store that happened to have a bunch of retro games. I go there once a year to see what they've got. Other years that I've been there, they've had more Japanese games, so I don't know. Maybe collecting Japanese games has taken off to the point where they just haven't been able to have them in stock. It's just really interesting to me to see that, is this what you're used to, not having really that great of a selection? Let me know in the comments. I hope I've been able to tell you to just buy some of the Japanese versions of these games. You don't need to know Japanese to play Mega Man. Save $30 and buy the Famicom version. You don't need Japanese to play Link to the Past. Save literally like $40 to $50 and buy the Super Famicom version. Get one of those little converters. You can play Super Famicom games. You can play Super Famicom games on your Super Nintendo and vice versa, as long as you got that little insert. Otherwise, man, yeah, collecting American games, that's real rough stuff, and something that I think I'll just stick with the Japanese games, but that's just what I can do since I live here. Got any questions, leave them on the video, leave them on the other videos that I will be making. I'll be making some more Q&As. Before I ramble on, this has been your man in Japan, Jay Contra, saying thanks for watching, see you next time, and mahalo.